Charles Conwell has been chasing his dream to be the best boxer in the world. Growing up in Cleveland Heights, he fell in love with boxing when he was just 10 years old. And 8 years later, that same love drove him to compete on the world stage in the 2016 Summer Olympics, representing Cleveland and the United States in Rio de Janeiro. The next step for Conwell was inevitable, turning professional. After a 10-0 career start, his next pro fight would come in Chicago, and that's when his life would change forever. On October 12th, Conwell faced Patrick Day of Long Island. Conwell dominated the fight with hard right hands and a left hook that knocked Day out in the 10th round. Day, in fact, had to be carried out of the ring on a stretcher. Day experienced a seizure on the way to Northwestern Memorial Hospital in downtown Chicago. There, doctors had to perform emergency brain surgery. 4 days later, Patrick Day died. He was 27 years old.
Boxers don't go in there looking to kill nobody or like to end nobody's life or to do no permanent damage to anybody. We just go in there to get the win, to make an impressive win, make it, you know what I'm saying, dominant win. We don't want to go in there to really injure nobody or end nobody's life or nothing like that. So we just go in there and we just do what we know and do what we taught, and that's just to win and just come out on top.
Conwell could not sleep, waking up in the middle of the night thinking about Patrick Day, replaying that fight over and over again in his mind. He wanted Day and his family to know how sorry he was, so Charles wrote a letter, spilling his heart.
I never meant for this to happen to you. All I ever wanted to do was win. If I could take it all back, I would, but no one deserves for this to happen to them. I replayed the fight over and over in my
Conwell thought about never fighting again, quitting on his dream, but he knows that's not what Patrick Day would have wanted.
It's bigger than me now. I'm doing it for everybody. It's not just about me anymore like I used to. Like I used to think it was, it's bigger than me now. He opened my eyes and made me realize it's bigger than myself, bigger than any one person.
Now, Charles Conwell is back in the ring, training, chasing that dream to be the undisputed champion of the world, because he's a fighter at heart who's not only fighting for himself, but now he fights for Patrick Day, too.
So I'll use you as motivation every day and make sure I always leave it in the ring every time.
From the Podcast Detroit studios and Zoom everywhere else, The Making of Champions. Professional boxers inspiring amateur athletes to become champions. Presented by Joe Louis, champion of them all, Bourbon, in association with USA Boxing, Golden Gloves of America, and BigFightWeekend.com. Join your hosts, Tanya Cole and Marquise Johns, with special guests from around the world of amateur and pro boxing, celebrating the legacy of Joe Louis, whose status as the first African-American national hero showed the importance of being a leader and a role model inside and outside of the ring.
Thank you for joining us tonight on The Making of Champions. Tonight we have Marquise Johns and a special guest. So Marquise, who do we have tonight?
Absolutely, Tanya. Thanks for having me on as always. Tonight on the program, we have undefeated super welterweight prospect who is in action next week this time, October 7th, on Shobox in their first broadcast back on New Generation, taking on Wendy Toussaint in the main event. We are talking to 12-0, 9 wins by KO, Charles Conwell. Charles, how you doing, sir?
I'm feeling good, man. How you guys doing? I'm glad to be here.
Thanks a lot, man. Great to have you on, man. But first things first, man, I want to talk us back. The last time you were in action was before the pandemic. It was back in beautiful Hammond, Indiana, against Ramses Agaton there. Walking back on that fight, because the way the video on that fight broadcast, I don't know if you saw the video back lately, where it shows that you were pretty much beaten up on him for about 5 rounds. It shows you at your corner, and then the ref just waving it off. Walk us back to the whole process.
I just think I eventually, like you said, I just eventually just started wearing them down. You know, those big body shots I was hitting with, being consistent to the body, and just, you know, just the pressure of me just being in the ring coming forward. That right there is already much. So just add up the punches, that's like double whammy. So, you know, I think the pressure broke him down, and he was unable to continue.
Yeah, because I was going to say, in that fight, Charles, is there any part by chance you want to pick out that you want to say that you didn't want anymore? Because I want to say it was maybe the 3rd or early 4th round, you had him in close and you hit him with a shot. Mm-hmm. And I think he held on for you about a solid like 10 seconds where like you can kind of see on him where he kind of didn't want to be there anymore.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what round, but I know I heard him a couple times to the body. So I just know if I stay down there and I just stay consistent down there, it would eventually end.
Back in, Conwell, another shot, right strong, right to the body, right to the face. Uppercut right to the chin.
Conwell's doing the right thing by keep stepping to his left when he throws that right body shot. If he just keeps stepping to his left, he probably can go.
He said it was a couple, but I was looking at that fight too. It was more than a couple, Charles.
Yeah.
More than a couple. So did the ref call that fight? It was. Did the ref call that fight, or did Agaton call that himself? I know the commentators were kind of going back and forth on that.
To be honest, I couldn't tell you. Once they did like this, I was
It was
excited.
done.
It was it.
Yeah.
Done deal.
All right.
What do you have to add, Marquise?
Yeah, just in terms of that fight, because the one thing I've realized, and also it's in the press release here from Showtime today, leading up to the fight, the quote that they have for you is that they have you quoted saying that your style is a mix of Mike Tyson, Aaron Pryor, Andre Ward. Why don't you narrow it down for me, Charles? Which one do you think you're more of out of all three of those? I can see all three of them now, but which one do you think is the most?
That's why I couldn't pick one. I had to pick all three of them. But I couldn't pick none of them, man. I really say my style for real. Who I try to emulate now, who's a boxer now, who's active. I don't want to try to emulate the style of Canelo. I'm going to get more to that style, more loose. That's the style I'm trying to come with now and improve on.
Absolutely. Speaking of Canelo, let me go completely off the rail for a second here. The fights this weekend. I know you're watching because the current title holder now, Jermell Charlo, beat Jelson Rosario in the unification bout at 154. Mm-hmm. What did you see from that fight, and where do you see yourself stacking up against the competition in that, as you climb up the ranks?
To be honest, I kind of knew. I didn't know which Charlo brother was going to stop somebody, but I knew one of them was going to win by decision. I knew one of them was going to stop. I just didn't know which one it was going to be. But I think I ranked really high. I never was really high on Rosario, to be honest. I never was really high on Rosario. He had one solid win over J-Rock, but I'm not really high on J-Rock either. So I just think I think I rank up there high. I just think I got to get the people, the crowd, the regular, the average boxing fan that just know me and recognize me. And then when I get up there and just get a couple more fights and getting closer to that world title, they'll start recognizing how good I am.
Absolutely, yeah. One thing about that fight as well, and I can concur with you. I fought Jamal was going to stop Derevyanchenko. Actually, I had it completely flipped. I didn't think it was going to be our way around on that actually. But the one thing with that fight, just go back to the Charles Rosario fight that I saw last weekend. It's a big log jam, and those belts have changed hands a lot in the last 2 to 3 years as a whole. Like, just give me your perspective on this. How do you think? Besides you just getting your name out there and fighting more, how do you think you can get up there?
Like you said, the belts change their hands so much, you never know who will be a champion. So 6 months from now, Charlo might not have a belt. It's just me staying consistent, me watching out for everybody in the division who's up there, who's getting ready for those world titles. Me just keeping an eye on all those fighters is going to let me just see where I rank at, and I already know I'm up there pretty high, but just keeping an eye out on all the upcoming fighters and the fighters in the division going. Just make me aware and sharp.
That too. And also just to piggyback, because you're trying to stay active so far. What have you been doing so far in this version of training camp? Who have you been sparring with? Who have you been fighting with just to prepare for Wendy Toussaint?
I spar a little bit of everybody, man. I spar with Jaron Ennis. I spar with some Ukrainian guys out in New York. I spar with guys. I usually spar with Tony Harrison. I just spar with a lot of different guys, some up-and-coming pros, some pros who already have pro fights that aren't really that famous. But I spar with my brother, Isaiah Steen, who on the co-main event of that card. So, just a lot of different people.
Okay. Yeah, because we had on what it was Malik Hawkins. He had a couple episodes ago, and he was training out in Omaha with the Crawford camp with Jamel Herring and Maurice Hooker and all of them. And the one thing he mentioned to us was the perspective that they all give. Was that the statement you got with training this go around as well?
Oh yeah, man. It's always respecting boxing. This is not, you can't go in there nobody and be disrespectful, especially when you're in there fighting. This is the perfect time if you want to get disrespectful. You in the right sport because it's a fight. It's a boxing, So if you want to get disrespectful, you can still get in the ring and handle it like men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of character traits that makes one a champion, and so we'll return with the Making of Champions on Joe Louis Bourbon and Big Fight Weekend when it comes back in a minute. All right, so we're back tonight with Charles Conwell. So we've been talking about a lot of your upcoming fights and your more recent fights. I'm going to take you back to a year to actually this month. Tell me a little bit about your fight with Patrick Day.
What about it?
Well, you were there. I think you can tell us. I can preface it a little bit. Patrick Day went down in round 10 and he passed away 4 days later. Tell us a little bit about that fight.
I mean, it's really not much to tell. It's a boxing match, and it was a boxing match. I really can't really say much more about it. If you've seen the fight, you know how the match went, but I really can't say much about it. It was a boxing match. I can't. Really say much about it.
Yeah, I understand. And actually, just to piggyback off that, because the one thing in a fight on television, like obviously, Charles, you would have known what would have happened. Did you anticipate any of that happening whatsoever?
No, I didn't expect any of it to happen. I don't think nobody go in there expecting something like that to happen. No fight. So yeah, I didn't know.
Well, I know, in fact, you said no one deserves this to happen to them. And I replay the fight over and over in my head thinking, what if this never happened? And why did it happen to you? It was often said that you could not sleep and you wrote a letter about this particular fight. And what did you say in this letter?
I just said how I felt. I mean, I just said how I felt. I didn't express myself. I knew I couldn't talk to him personally, so I had to, speak it to the world and just let my emotions go, so I can just feel my. I just feel like I needed to say something to him, like personally, but I couldn't get into it, get in touch with him, so I just sent it out to the universe.
Mm-hmm. And I know that you sent it out through your prayers for him as well. Yeah. And at some point, what happened to you a year ago made you want to reconsider being in the boxing ring. What was the changing point for you, and who supported you in making that decision?
The changing point was just talking to my family and friends, just staying around positive people and just talking to positive people that's in your life, people who wants the best for you and just want you to do the best. So talk to those type of people and just staying positive and just. I really don't even like to talk about it because a lot of people can't understand. Even my family and friends can't understand it. Nothing like that never happened to them. So it's really a touchy situation. I really don't even like talking about it, to be honest.
Right. I know that you worked out of Soul City Boxing, and you talked about these kids, this gym, and this story being epic. What values have you learned from that experience that you think that you can transfer over to these kids over at Soul City Boxing?
You can just stay around positive people when you're down. When you're not feeling the best, just stay around positive people if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling down, if you're feeling like nobody's there for you. Just go around somebody you know who's positive, who love you and want to see you do better and be better. So just stay around those type of people and everything will be okay.
Mm-hmm. And who do you think has been your greatest influence? Has it been your coaches, your family, or has it been your friends?
It's been all of them, I mean. My coaches are my family. My friends are my family. So it's family, period. So my family, just family, to be honest. They family, friends, coaches, that's all my family. They all look after me. They all take care of me. So they all family to me.
And I know that you fell in love, and I'm sorry, Marquise, but you started boxing when you were 10. How did you know this is something that you wanted to do? What made you fall in love with boxing?
I didn't like boxing when I first started. I don't think like boxing when I first started. It was real hard. I was out of shape. I didn't like getting punched, but eventually after you just start working hard, you seeing results and you just seeing how you winning and just feeling good, just feeling better, just being in shape. It just makes you feel better. And I just fell in love with the sport, just fell in love with winning, just fell in love with training hard, being disciplined, working hard, and just seeing results.
Mm-hmm. I want to go back to what you mentioned about your family being that close to you. We had Clay Collard on last week, and he pretty much says that his coach is pretty much the dynamic duo. He compares it to a Batman and Robin, essentially. Mm-hmm. Would you say the same thing with your family and with friends and close knit with you and Rashawn Jones by chance?
Yeah, me and my team, we like the Incredibles. Then the whole family Incredibles, my family. And my team, we like the Incredibles. There's a lot of us, and we all put in the work, and we all motivate and push each other. So, just any team or group of superheroes, that's who we are.
I was gonna say, you mentioned the Incredibles. Which one's the baby?
Which one, the baby? I don't know. That was got like 30 different powers. So that's like probably one of the up and coming kids.
The baby's the most powerful one. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you think your past experiences have changed you as a boxer? What could you say about your own development?
Just past experiences make me take the sport more serious. Not even just with boxing, it makes me take the sports more serious, make me want to work harder, make me just want to stay, just stay healthy, stay active, stay in shape, so you can just always get the best results possible as you can. So that's really how I have my boxing. But just in life period, it just makes me want to strive for more, create a legacy, and leave something behind for the people and for my family and stuff like that.
And I know Jones, one of your coaches, said, the world can be a cold and cruel place, and sometimes people succumb to temptation and get trampled in the concrete jungle. And boxing is, believe it or not, mostly a safe haven for kids. How do you think it protects kids back in your community?
It keeps them out the street. It keeps them busy, man. A bored kid to go out there and do anything, to be honest with me. A bored kid to just do crazy stuff just for attention, or just you bored, you just doing anything. So a bored kid to do anything. So just keeping them on track with something positive and taking it in a positive way, they can be the greatest fighter of all time, man. Little do they know, they just got to stay focused and stay working hard.
Do you have success stories to share from Soul City, from children there?
It's a whole bunch. I'm not really a coach. They know more about their background than I do. So I know those kids that definitely came from hard backgrounds, harder than mine, harder than a lot of people's probably out there, and they're still making it. Even if they don't box no more, they still making it like they got a job. They probably doing good. They got a trade, or you know what I mean. It's not always about boxing. It's about just growing up, being a responsible, being an adult, and just taking care of your business.
Mm-hmm. And you talked too about prayer, focus, and determination. Can you break down each of those points and tell us why you think those are important? And this is not just for adults, but for the children that are listening in on this podcast.
You said prayer,
focus, and determination.
Oh yeah, you got to have focus in anything. You can't be halfway over there. You can't have one foot in, one foot out. So focus and having to focus on one thing, I feel like that gets you the best results. Determination is just like, just having that drive. I feel like that, just being determined, having that drive, having that push, having the will and the want to be good, to be great, and just to be the best you can be. And with prayer, you always gotta get a praise to the Most High and just be thankful for what you got, and just thankful to make out any situation that you're in, that you live in every day, and just making it every day.
Mm-hmm. And more. We'll return back. More with Charles Conwell on The Making of Champions on Joe Louis Bourbon, and Big Fight Weekend returns after this.
Well, let's say hello to senior writer, BigFightWeekend.com, Marquise John.
All right, Charles, we've got a few more questions. We're going to wrap it up. You feeling okay? I know you're tired. You just have 2 hours of training. You're trying to get some dinner in. We're almost.
What you eat, man? It looks delicious.
All right. So, Marquise, we're back. So we've got Charles Conwell with us. Do you have any last questions you want to ask him before he takes off? He's been training for 2 hours before the podcast today, so we need to let him move on and grab some dinner there. It doesn't look like he's having dinner. He's snacking there.
Yeah. Yeah. One question I wanted to ask you, Charles, was the one common opponent that you're facing with Winnie Toussaint was the guy that you faced back on the Triple G Steve Rose undercard that you were in action with, where you took on Courtney Pennington. I know you can't usually judge that because he fought him 5 years ago. I mean, I have hair 5 years ago, so I understand that. But was there anything you could take advantage from that fight that he had back in those days when you fought Pennington to apply to this fight of this weekend, this Wednesday on Shobox?
To be honest, I didn't see the fight with him and Pennington. To be honest, I didn't even get to see that fight.
Yeah, it's in the archives, man. But no, did you see his last fight against Isaiah Jones in the bubble on Top Rank by chance?
Yeah, I seen that one.
Okay. Anything you saw of note on that one by chance?
Oh, yeah, I seen him. I think he's athletic. He's tall. He's long. I mean, I know he's gonna come in there to win. He's undefeated. He never felt what the loss felt like. So I know he's gonna come ready. And I know he thinks he's the underdog. So he got the underdog mentality. So I just gotta stay in there and stay focused, man. He's like you said, every fight is a dangerous fight. So me just focusing, working on my game plan, and just staying tight with what I'm doing is gonna always help me prevail and come out with a W for sure.
Absolutely. And speaking of that W, and it's the one thing that you've been trying to get a fight for a while, and I'm going to piggyback something that a friend of mine that you were on his show Inside the Ropes with Lucas a while back mentioned, where he just flat out said it, and I'm willing to piggyback his statements. You're a problem at 154, man. Why do you think it's been so hard for you to get a fight, man?
Recently because of the pandemic, but recently I think it's because of the pandemic, and then with the situation that happened before that, with that fight. So I think that may have made a lot of people look me a little bit more weary than they were before. So just those two things right there is always, if I think it's like a big risk type thing.
No, I understand completely the risk reward. So let's just go around on Shobox. This next Wednesday will be your second time in there. You fought in there a couple of years ago. How do you anticipate it being this go around? Because as you know, with courtesy of COVID-19 and all the pandemic stuff, there's no fans for the show. And I think they're having in their fight spear here at the Mohegan Sun. Are you prepared to be to pretty much fight? I think the way everyone's explained it so far was that it's an empty building.
Well, yeah, for sure. I think I'll be ready for it. I mean, the gym be empty when you be sparring. So I'm gonna say it be just for a couple fighters, your teammates in there anyway. So when you sparring, so I think I'm gonna be used to. I can be able to hear my coach a lot more clear. I can hear the instructions a lot better, and I can just just go off the vibe of my coach. I can hear a lot of stuff. I can focus more probably because less distractions from the crowd. So hopefully, I know it'll play out in my favor at the end of the day. Yeah.
Just making it just my one last question for you. I got you on my end. After this fight, you're victorious against Toussaint. Who would you want to face? Obviously, no one for a title going to bother you now at this point. But who would you like to think realistically want to be in a ring with next after this?
Who would I like to be in the ring with?
Yeah.
I mean, I like to be in the ring with an ex-world title challenger or ex-world title or ex-world champion, ex-world title challenger or ex-world champion. Those are like the two top things I want to be with, so I can gain that experience of having championship rounds, being there with a championship type of fighter. So those are two people I can get in the ring with, to be honest.
Gotcha.
Well, Charles, before we end, got one final question for you. The sport giveth and the sport taketh away. Tell us what boxing has given you and what it's taken away or what you've taken from it.
The boxing has given me, it gave me discipline, structure, gave me health, it gave me life skills, it gave me learn how to protect myself, gave me money, traveling, different experiences, seeing different countries, doing things like that. Boxing take away a lot of time out of my life, though, to be honest. It consumes a lot of time. But at the end of the day, I think it's worth it. You just follow your dreams and having fun doing it, and you follow your dreams and just having fun and staying in shape. So that's like the big things I think it's taken away from me.
Absolutely. And then just to piggyback on that, now I'll rest my case card, Charles. You mentioned travel on that, actually. I know you fought in the Olympics at the 2016 Games. Where have you been besides Rio that you liked so far?
Rio. I've been to Argentina. I've been to Bulgaria. I really like the the little South America type countries. I like those countries. Always nice. Got good Hispanic food, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And speaking of time, how has it been with you being separated from your newest little one?
Oh, it's been real hard, man. I'm missing a lot of milestones. Getting to see her grow up, getting to see her, start cooing and just start seeing, smiling, laughing. So when I get back home, I just want to spend a lot of time with her and just get the daddy-daughter time that I deserve and that I want to spend, just have fun with her.
Yeah. Give her lots of hugs and kisses from us, too.
Yeah.
So, Charles, how can we find you on social media, and how can we find your next fight?
You can find me on all social media platforms at Charles Conwell. No spaces, no underscores, just Charles Conwell. And then you can tune in October 7th, man, main event. Just make sure you guys tune in for a good show. We're going there to do what we always do, dominate and get the victory.
Gotcha. Marquise, how can we find you on Big Fight Weekend?
Absolutely. You can find my writings at bigfightweekend.com or on Twitter at Weak Sauce Radio.
Got you. And Charles, we thank you so much for joining us tonight on the Making of Champions podcast. We know you're exhausted after your practice today. We know you're hungry. Thank you so much for joining us. And that's all for tonight with the Making of Champions with Joe Louis Bourbon and Big Fight Weekend. Thank you.
From the Podcast Detroit studios and Zoom everywhere else, the Making of Champions. Professional boxers inspiring amateur athletes to become champions. Presented by Joe Louis, champion of them all, Bourbon, in association with USA Boxing, Golden Gloves of America, and BigFightWeekend.com. Join your hosts, Tanya Cole and Marquise Johns, with special guests from around the world of amateur and pro boxing, celebrating the legacy of Joe Louis, whose status as the first African-American national hero showed the importance of being a leader and a role model inside and outside of the ring.